Really you're from is within your reach. Join Janet Carol Lesson and Dr. Sasha Lesson as they search for the answers as they open up the Stargate to the cosmos.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Stargate to the Cosmos. I'm your host, Janet Carol Lesson, with Dr. Sasha, Alex Lesson, Deborah DeFranco, our producer, isn't with us this week, so I'm producing the show. And our guests today are Dan Cooper and General Hendricks. And before we get into the show, I want to double check if your mic works. Can you please say hello, Sasha?
Hello, Sasha.
And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dan Cooper and General Hendricks. Well, actually, I've got a bio and everything up on aquariumradio.com with lots of pictures. And Dan's been with us a number of times, and we're going to focus on his information that he gathered while he was part of the secret space program. And both of these young men are involved with the secret space program. General Hendricks is one of the Dracos in the German secret space fleets. And then Dan Cooper, I'm going to let him tell you about what part of the secret space program he was with and how he was involved with that and what happened. So General Hendricks is on his way back. He's listening in, but he's going to get to a location where his sound is better. So let's begin with Dan Cooper. Do you have something to say, Sash, about the show?
Before we bring in Dan? Thank you, Janet.
Sorry about that. I was ignoring you. Hard to ignore.
So the thing that Dan and General Hendricks will be describing to you is very familiar to me as an anthropologist. I did my field work in Fiji, and especially on the Isle of Vanuatu. Instead of everybody getting killed in one village or the other village, they just had the two biggest guys come out and fight it out, and then they'd eat the one that lost, and the people that lost, their champion, not only lost the guy, but then they had to give a certain amount of their yams and fish to the other guys. And this kind of thing comes to even in ancient Sumer, where I've studied. The king of Uruk sent a messenger to the king of Harata in Pakistan and saying, "Hey, we want to make contact with you." And the guy from the Pakistani said, "Look, man, it's either war." And the Sumerian guy said, "No, let's do trade. But if you have to have war, let's not kill everybody. Let's just have our champions do it." So Daniel is a trained champion. And the stuff he does, it makes so much sense in terms of sparing a life. And so I'm fascinated. This is an old story of humanity in its many forms.
So welcome back to the show, Daniel.
Okay, I'm on. I'm here. What do you guys want to know?
Excellent. We're going to focus on the connection you and General Hendricks have about being in the secret space program. And you, especially, you were trained as a champion. So go back in your time machine to how this began for you, including your birth and genetic manipulation and upbringing.
Wow, you want to start from? You want too much information in a few minutes?
Too much, yeah. TMI in a few minutes. No, slow it down. It's okay.
Well, I'll just
Hendricks is on the way home.
I'll pick pieces.
What particularly we want to know is the training that led you to be expert at being able to beat beings from other societies that you never even met before.
Right. Anyway, and the training's interesting because my father actually took pictures of the training, and you have those photos, and I can explain what that is. But anyway, that's another time. You don't have the photos up. So, let's see now. First of all, what we did in combat tells you what the training, they trained us for specific purposes. We were a team of 16, warriors that would, do missions as a team of 16 special forces. We did a lot of covert missions on different planets. We lived on a cruiser, and then we would get deployed to do different missions in different parts of the galaxy and several other galaxies. at our posts, our stations. The United States has different outposts, different bases, and also research outposts all throughout different parts of the galaxy. Because we have the galaxy to galaxy gate, we're also in other galaxies. Ganymede is the galaxy to galaxy gate. And we captured that from the Greys in the Battle of Ganymede, summer of 2014. So basically, we were a team of 16, but we all were trained to fight with swords. I just happened to be the best at it. So when it came tournament time, or it came, okay, well, we're going to do a sword fighting match, then I was the one, because I was the best at it in our team. But I also happened to be the best on all the teams, but that's another story.
What are the swords like? Are they rapiers? Are they slashers? What are the swords?
No, we actually fight with laser swords. Just like in Star Wars, except that it looks different. It's slightly different, but it is a laser sword. So the cuts are clean. These people in their realms, which cover thousands of planets, these aliens in their realms, they rule. They don't want to die in combat, and they certainly don't want to feel pain in combat, so they use the sharpest weapons, which happens to be a laser sword.
So when you trained in Japan, was that, what were you training with?
Oh, we trained with Boken wooden staffs. There's also the Shinai, which doesn't kill, which is kind of a combination of a whole bunch of slivers of bamboo, and when you hit somebody with it, doesn't really hurt. We also trained with the Boken. I think you saw it in The Last Samurai. Those Bokens, we actually trained with those Bokens, that company's Bokens. Well, actually better, the Japanese company's Bokens of high quality. So we trained like that, like you saw in The Last Samurai when they were training. That's how we trained with Bokens as well. We trained with lots of different weapons that would be used in other planets, the weapons that would be used on other planets. Whatever weapon is going to be the weapon of choice for combat, to resolve conflicts on those planets, and we train on those weapons too, which could be a staff. It could be a staff like the reptilians were fond of, also wood staffs like the Boken, but much bigger. So the Japanese also train with one that big.
Do you just have one weapon, or do you have two or more?
Well, I had two. I always carried two. But I was a two-sword fighter, ni tenru. I was a two-sword fighter. I carried two. I didn't use two in every engagement. I just was a two-sword fighter. I studied the specific Musashi Miyamoto ni tenru, which is what I studied. And that was my expertise, was two swords. And I was allowed to use that in many of the engagements. The reptilians would use two often. They have two hearts.
When did you switch laser? When was the first time you held a laser weapon? Was that on the Earth?
No. They never showed us the lasers until they never showed us or told us anything until they pulled us up on ship at 17 and a half. They didn't tell us anything. You got to understand, when you're being trained at night and during the day. At nighttime, they wash your memories of the training, so you don't know you're being trained at night. And they regress you in time, meaning they set you back in time, so you sleep, you get your sleep period in. So you're being trained during the day and trained at night. So I did sports during the day, but I eventually became a water polo champion right before I was shipped out at 17 and a half. I was considered the best player in the country, or even internationally during the period, because I was playing with the New York Athletic Club and we were playing international tournaments. I was 16 playing on a men's team, playing international tournaments and winning every one of them. And I was the center guard. I was the fighter. And the two guys that were our forwards, they were my commanding officers. They shipped out with me from the pool at the New York Athletic Club. Anyway, go ahead and ask some more specific questions.
So you were already used to being a team with these guys?
Yeah. With my two commanding officers were Nazis, and we actually talked about that. And they were both Nazis. And they clearly said, yeah, we're Nazis. And one of them was my colonel, and the other one was the other guy was lieutenant colonel. What?
We have an association with National Socialists in Germany under Hitler many years ago. What does that Nazi mean nowadays in the service you were in?
Well, see, that's the thing. Even though the Nazis were the ones that won the war and they were the ones that started all of our secret space program and they controlled for a long time, that changed. And in fact, that's what this whole new disclosure by the interplanetary corporate conglomerate is doing. The powers that be is the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, and they decide to give some disclosure. They're doing some disclosures a little bit more than soft now. General Eshed, that the commander of the secret space program for Israel is now speaking to you. And what they're telling you, what the ICC is telling you is you're wrong, that the Nazis don't control. That's what they're telling you here, and a bunch of other things, too. We'll go over that as we go further into the program.
The recent article about Trump knows? Is that person from Israel? No,
okay,
Italian.
Eshed, General Eshed, who's the commander of the secret space program for Israel for 30 years, like a long time. Okay. So he's been around ever since way past the beginning, but definitely for the last 30 years. So you're saying Israel's been involved in the secret space program since 1980. Hello. Get it?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And this is the commander. This is the guy that commanded the Israel, secret space program. So what he's saying is that no, the Nazis didn't get rid of us, and no, the Nazis really aren't in command, and we play a major role in the secret space program. That's what he's telling you here, and it's kind of important to understand what's going on. What is the ICC doing by moving this man forward as the speaker for the interplanetary corporate conglomerate, the powers that be? Why are they moving this man forward to speak? See what I'm saying? And what is he saying? It's all very important to understand. But you were asking about my history. So we ran with 16, and we did a lot of missions as a group that I did with the group. My brother was in command of the 16. I was second in command, tech sergeant first class, tech sergeant second class. Anyway, so that's what they trained us to do those missions. Everybody studied sword fighting, but I was the best, so I got to do the tournaments and I got to do the one-to-one combat engagements. It was just because I was the best. It had nothing to. We trained as a team to do lots of missions. We had a lot of ordnance. My brother David was the expert in ordnance and tracking, and he's tracking now for the national park, which is crazy at his age.
Yeah. One second. Can we go back to Sasha? What was your question?
Well, it seems to me that when you have the Israeli military dude saying we're part of it, that means that
your question was about Trump. Well, I'm sorry. Let's back up 1 second before you move forward. I got to ask your question. I have to answer the one about Trump first. Yes, Trump is now a white hat. He got brought into the white hats, and that Israel general is a white hat. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So ask your question, Sasha, about...
Well, that's it. It's saying that because Israel is in on this, you can't... that means that there's been an accommodation and there's something entirely new, which is an alliance of the best German, American, and Israeli brains. That's what it seems to me.
Right. A long time ago, they departed from we're Nazis and we're into this. All that was left way back when. And I know personally because my commanding officers were Nazis. I know what they were like, and I had I remember all the discussions with them. I know the Nazis, they changed because they met all these aliens. They changed. It changed them. And they're no longer the ruling faction. And that's what the ICC is telling you by moving this guy forward. But at the same time, you need to understand he is a white hat, and so is Trump. But this is the first time any white hat has ever come out and publicly said, yeah, I'm a white hat. He didn't use that word yet, but he'll get around to that. Yeah, I'm with the group that wants the Dracos to leave. That's what he's going to tell you. Eventually, if it's true disclosure, he'll start talking and tell you everything.
Yeah.
Now, I pulled up your pictures. Can you see them? There's a picture of you when you were a child. There's 3 boys on a piece of equipment. There's a bunch of black and whites. There's a cow.
Right. Yeah. So they were teaching us at a very young age to operate large equipment, to operate equipment. So we got to drive the tractor. We were taught to drive the tractor. And then we were also to operate big pieces of equipment. Yeah. You're a little kid operating a big piece of equipment. Think about it. What are they training you to do?
Not
Hello? Anyway, and the equipment just kept getting bigger, I mean, that's how they train you to drive all of their ships, their smaller ships for actual combat engagements. Small force combat engagements. We use small ships.
Who is the guy standing in this suit? And there's the three boys on the equipment.
Oh, he's the guy. He's the guy that worked with the Gray to genetically engineer me. He's the guy. Look how proud he is. He genetically engineered all three of us. That's the geneticist that genetically engineered. I can't believe they let my father get away with that one. And by the way, the picture was cropped and placed back in. You didn't get the full picture. When I had sent the picture to Randy, then it was cropped. And after that, and everywhere, and even in my album, I'm like, whoa, wait a second, that's not the original picture. It was cropped. And the reason they were cropping it is because they didn't want you to see the complete vehicle that we're sitting on. That complete vehicle is a over Unity vehicle. It runs on its own, doesn't run with gas or anything like that. And they didn't want you to see it because it had a lot of components that you could actually see in the full blown picture. So they cropped it.
Are you saying Kramer? Who cropped it? Was it Kramer?
Kramer didn't crop it.
The Secret Space Program, the people in the Secret Space Program, they cropped the picture on purpose because it had too much information in it. They did leave the geneticists, though. They actually left the geneticists, though, which is really interesting. The things they left is really interesting.
So you can send me the picture that's not cropped?
No, I can't. No, I tried. It was gone. It's gone. It's gone in my album, too. They beamed it out and beamed it back. I mean, oh, my God. Randy, I sent it to Randy uncropped. He saw the uncropped version, but I don't know what his memory's like. I have no idea what his memory's like. So.
What's with the boat? What's with the boat? Anything? The boat?
The boat signifies a specific location. See, my father's showing you where the base is. The turn to the base. Yeah. So he also actually shows you that placard is actually showing you the town. So he's actually ID'd where the base is. Yeah.
And then what's with the who are the men by the fountain? Is that you by the
fountain? Oh, no. Those are three Germans, and they're teaching me how to walk through the because remember, every morning we have to walk through the gate, and normally your nanny takes you through the beams you into the base. You have to get beamed into the base. You get beamed into the base right out of your bedroom. And that's what appears is a big flush beam like that. And you're supposed to walk through it. And you're a kid 2 years old, and they're telling you to walk through this thing. You're like, no fucking way, I'm not doing that. So they have to teach you how to walk through it, and that's how they do it. And that's on base. That fountain's on base. Specifically, that's on the Air Force Base, that fountain. And those are Germans. Yeah. They only speak German. I even asked my father, how come they speak German? Why don't they speak English? And who are these guys? So they were there to teach me to walk through the beam. When it comes in your room, you're supposed to walk through it, and that's what it looks like. And it feels that way. Too. It feels just like it. They said that when you walk through the transporter, it feels just like that. Walking through a rush of water feels the same. Just close your eyes and walk through.
Is that you with the cow?
Now they were also bulls. They had us riding cows and bulls. They actually taught us how to ride them at that age. I was riding bulls. My father couldn't believe it. He asked me, what were you doing with these cows and bulls? And I said, riding them. He goes, no way. I go, yeah. And he said, I got to see this. This is my dad, He was the photographer for the Secret Space Program, so they let him get away with certain things. They never thought anything of it. They never thought I was going to be showing the world these photos.
And what's with the Native Americans? There's a couple pictures.
I don't see that one. You got to explain that one a little bit more.
Scroll down. Anyway, let's go back to your story. There's a lot of pictures, and I'll try to get some explanations from Dan later, and I'll put it by the pictures. So you're 17 and a half, and what do? They
beam you up.
You're on board.
They beam you up to the cruiser, and then we take off. We're off. We're off on mission. We're traveling. Where we get out of the bubble, the local 52 in a heartbeat, and we're on our way to a mission. We're going on a mission out to an outpost, a base that's in trouble, and we have to bail them out, get them out of the difficulty, or we have to go to a tournament or whatever. We have many different military assignments, but we were traveling with Draco ships. Starship was pretty fast.
Right. And Hendricks has a lot of associations with the Draco, so we'll get into that when he comes on in a few minutes. So what was it like had you been on board ship before, or was that the first time?
No, first time.
How did you adapt to that?
First time, never been on ship before
like
that I can remember. I don't remember ever being on ship. I don't remember ever being on ship before. It wasn't a shock. It was the same as going through the transporters, teaching you. We've been going through transporters for years. Ever since I was 3, I was going through transporters. So I know there was no problem going through the transporter. Being beamed up to the ship was not a big deal. Remember, during the night, we're being trained and we know what we're doing, and then they erase our memory, and then during the day we don't know what we're doing. So I don't have total recall of the experience. I only remember some things.
Was it all dudes, or were there any women too?
Not in my team, not on my team. But we don't, it's neat to know. You're just a tech sergeant. You don't need to know anyone else's teams or anyone else's team's assignments. Teams don't talk to each other. It wasn't like that. Unless we had a joint mission, we weren't talking to each other. The only people you knew were your team members and, whatever girls you met on a pleasure planet.
So was it, you're like special forces, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, hello.
And so they coordinate. And so were there larger operations where your group was coordinating with other groups, and there's somebody in charge?
Yeah. But we usually do, very specialized missions. We were rarely ever in a full engagement with all the other ships and all the other heavy armor and stuff. We rarely ever were actually in those kind of engagements. But there were those engagements all over the place. They did that everywhere. Dracos they're into ruling.
So did you have any, what kind of food did you eat? How was it made? Was it like the replicator on Star Trek?
It's replicator food, anything you want. But usually you eat healthy. You eat a very healthy regimen because you're training and you're building and you're bodybuilding and you're training and, you're going to eat a very healthy, like a bodybuilder's diet. But it's all natural. It's replicated, but it's all natural. It tastes just like really fresh vegetables and fresh salad, and everything is just better than normal. That's what's so different. It's better than normal. Okay. You can have strawberries you get out of the market these days. Nah, never had a sour strawberry. No, they were perfect. And that's the thing. That's the difference. It's all perfect. Then it tastes great. And be used to it. So until you try something different, a different kind of meal. So, and if we had that opportunity on some of the planets, we would take it, because you get something different. You get kind of bored of the best,
So what about the gravity? Did they maintain an Earth gravity? Did you have to adapt to different gravities? What about
they maintain an Earth gravity. They maintain an Earth gravity, except that we would go into specialized parts of the ship and acclimate to the environment we were about to attend. So about a week or two before the mission, we would acclimate to that environment in a special group of rooms. Like a quarter of the ship might be devoted just to this purpose. So that all would adapt to all the rooms and everything. It would look like that where we're going, and that was the environment we were going to be in. So whether we were in suits or we weren't in suits, it was all we were going to get acclimated to where our mission was going to be several weeks before the mission.
Did you have any leisure time?
What's the pleasure?
Sure. You get holodeck time, but the best time, of course, is on the pleasure planets, plural.
What was that like Saigon?
Well,
see, I don't have full memories of it. I just know of it. I just don't have full memories of it. To me, it's more like what they talk about in Star Trek. What was that pleasure planet? Anyway.
Risa.
Yeah.
Like Risa.
So there are, planets like that. So yeah, we go on shore leave. Yeah, we go on shore leave, but we don't disappear. You got shore leave for a week or two, and then you come back. Most of the time, you do the holodeck for entertainment.
And then, so you're finally at the destination. How do they decide you're the one that's doing the battle? You're the one.
Depends on what the specific mission is. A lot of times we would fly into, and there would be a tournament, and then I get to attend the tournament. I was entered in the tournament. Yeah. Or our team was, depending, or our team and me were, depending on what the tournament was about. But a lot of times we actually did combat tournaments.
Eliminations.
Now, was it always to the death, or was it?
No. Usually to the death was rare because, remember, these are people who are in command and they don't want to kill each other. They don't want to die. So they don't make usually their combats aren't to the death, it's to the disablement. But you can get killed in a disablement. If someone's trying to disable you, you can get killed in the process. It's not that simple. Although best fighters never killed when the rules were disablement only. Sometimes just touch. Remember, the Sioux were really into that. Just touch with a stick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called the touching, And we used to have those kind of tournaments where all you did was touch with a stick, and then you won. If you could touch the other opponent with a stick. All of the touch is a hard hit, but it's not like trying to knock them out or nothing like that. So it depends where you are. Often or not, we would engage in combat to the death because we were the newbies, and we were expected to show our true worth. So, and many of my engagements were to the death. Many of my engagements.
So it means you won them all because you're still here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I won them. Oh, they put you back together. No, it's sometimes you can't be put back together. But we had the technology to put you back together if they did it quick enough. But sometimes you can't. There are certain strikes that, no, you're dead. And then there are certain rules that say you're not allowed to put them back together. You go to a tournament where, no, you're not allowed to be put back together. You get killed here, you're done. Otherwise, you can't enter the tournament unless you agree to those terms.
So that's very much like the Mayas used to have a ball game, and they beheaded the losing captain or the whole losing team sometimes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, you're going in and it was to the death, So, but I was very comfortable and I was a winner, so, and I had reputation. My reputation started to grow over the years. Galactically.
Okay, we're going to pause right there. With your reputation starting to grow, we're going to let Hendricks come on and tell his story, and then we'll go back and forth. So, Hendricks, are you available? Are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Okay, so tell us your story. How did you get involved in whatever this is, secret space program, or how do you symbol what you're involved in? Is it the secret space program, or is it something else?
Sorry, can you hear me? You're breaking up there.
Yes. Tell us about your involvement in this space program where you're a warrior and you're fighting.
Okay, so let's start in 2 seconds here. It's getting on the elevator. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I serve in the Dark Fleet services of the German Nazi groups. I'm a general in the Special Forces. I'm an incarnated Draco in this human incarnation. I've been here since the 1870s, and this is my third incarnation here. I have lots of similar memories to Dan's stories, where we use the laser swords for our Special Forces missions. They're the color that our swords are red. I use 2 swords, one in each hand. On the bottom of my swords I have, if you flip it up, you can squeeze it hard enough and projectile lasers will come out of it. I'm not sure if Dan has similar stories like that. I could start with mission report I was on 2 weeks ago when we were sent off world to the vampire controlled worlds. So this is a draconian reptilian controlled world, and there's vampire controlled worlds where we were sent to these bunkers that were like massive warehouses, and you open up the bunkers and there's humans in like giant plastic bags. We call them blood sacks for the vampires. It's almost like this out of that movie, what's that movie? There's some full exposure in that Blade movie where they have humans in giant plastic bags and they're sucking them out of blood and then so they can farm them better. And our mission was to destroy the facilities and all the infrastructures. And that was December 2nd when we did that. We got back on planet, thrown back into my body with full memory of everything. And I just wrote it down in my notepad quickly. So what else would you like to say?
So that was this year, December 2nd of 2020. You're saying you were on a mission to destroy this facility where they were farming humans.
Yeah,
the vampire. Okay, continue. You're kind of going in and out. If you can maybe speak closer to the mic, that would be good.
Yeah, I don't know. Is this on speakerphone or I don't know how to use this thing.
Okay. Just keep going. Okay, so how did you get started with this? Go back in time. What was your first memory of being?
So before I came to this world, I served in many military organizations on many draconian worlds. So I've been in the military service of the draconians for millions of years, and I came to this planet in the 1870s with my draconian family. They dropped me off. Had my incarnations here, instantly joined the military in my past life in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I graduated in the Special Forces Officers Group in the Centennial grad class, and then we're shipped off world, more training, tons of underwater training, lots of training where we get killed and we transfer our consciousness into new avatars, and they use our avatars for other missions. A lot of missions actually end up with us, are suicidal missions because there's no way to get out. So we just transfer our consciousness into a new body. My earliest memories are when I was a child in this human state, where I have memories of wars, and I was attracted to military up here in Canada my entire life. I was super aggressive all the time, super angry, super just not human at all, very draconian, very dominating, very strong personality types. And when I was 26 in this current timeline, I was awakened by the Pleiadians. They took me off world, and I was on their ship over Earth, and I just asked one question in my mind, like, who am I? And they wrote Yakarta in my mind in big white letters. And then I woke up back in my bed completely, and back in 2012, completely awakened. Like I just went on the computers, typed in human origin stories, and just self-taught for like 6 months straight, just jumped right down the rabbit hole, came out completely a new person, and then I started being taken off world again, and all these alien groups were showing me my past memory lives, and then I rejoined the secret space programs again for another tour, back in the Dark Fleet, and then I started doing training with new recruits, and then just mission work after mission work, thrown back in my body. Sometimes that was, the hardest missions were when they would take us back in time. They'd make us, a guy in a business suit would walk up to you, and he would say, Carta, we need you to go back in time for another 2 year, and you need to do some reconnaissance. And sometimes I would you can negotiate the time. I would say, I just want to go for 1 year. And they say, okay, you can go for 1 year. And then they would put me back in time, or in the future, far into the future, like 500 years in the future. And there was timelines where humans were taken over by these invisible alien groups that used drone technology to kill humans off, and it was my job to be cloaked, and I had to just hide and eat out of garbage cans just to get information. And every time I'd go back into normal time, they would download all my memories and everything like that, debrief me, and then they'd throw me back in my body into this current timeline, and then I'd have to go be a realtor for the day with all the emotions and memories of those missions. They're not always all the memories. It's just like a movie trailer. There's like bits and pieces of it, but you can get a full picture if you just try remembering hard enough. I can stop with that. You can ask questions.
Okay, that's fascinating. So how many years old are you now in this human avatar?
33.
Avatar. You're 33, okay. And so by day, you're a realtor. So you're like Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And at night, you're a super soldier, and you're out.
It's
so
every night though. Most nights are I'm just traveling the multiverse, visiting my other parallel reality selves, and or traveling back home, hanging out with my draconian family. It's just maybe like twice a month they use me off-world. What happens during the day when I'm selling real estate? A loud ringing will go in my left ear. That means I'm being called into action. I'll get super tired and I'll put myself to bed and I'll be gone off-world for days, hours, months, weeks, years at a time. Only 6 hours will pass on Earth and they'll throw me back in my body, usually around 3:26 a.m. And then I'll wake up with full memory and I'll just write everything down on a voice notepad and then go back to bed.
Hey, General, can you use your journeys to the future to see which horse is going to win and stuff like that?
Well, it's time is irrelevant. So the timelines that I saw are just possible future timelines. So it doesn't mean that this is going to be our current timeline.
Oh, okay.
But they all exist, right? It's not like we have one timeline. We have potentialities, and so.
But just like there's different parallel realities of this world and this conversation happening right now, but it doesn't mean that's going to be our future outcome. In the future, it has many possibilities. But there's just, I have lots of World War II and World War memories of us going back in time and fighting on Normandy beaches and being killed and transferred back into time 30 minutes before we got killed, and then we could avoid us getting killed in that section. Then we could carry on the beach.
Wow.
So what's your relationships like? How do your partners handle this?
Well, actually, that's pretty funny to say because I have a wonderful Earth human girlfriend, and she has to put up with my draconian personality sometimes, and I want to say thank you to her, and I love her very much because I can get very verbally aggressive. I have very much of a snap show sometimes, or I'm very easily irritated. I have a very dominating personality where draconians are just naturally think they're superior, and my other self has to come down here and smack me in the face to sort me up. But yeah, it's very hard for me to even be around humans sometimes because I know what humans are and what they were genetically created for. So it makes me hard to even want to even accept them as an equal. But then there's another side of me. I'm a starseed. I'm 96 trillion years old. I'm from the Jakarta system. I am a light being. So I'm a light and dark being. So they call that a gray Jedi. And I have a light side that's very loving, very caring, very understanding, very wants to be here. And I'm also what they call a rogue Draco. I'm also here to help what my ancestors started, and is to get rid of the control system. And this is many incarnations where I've had many incarnations on other worlds where I freed slave systems by helping through military action and stuff like that.
So you said what humans are and what they were created for. What are humans and what were they created for?
Well, current humans, which humans are Homo sapiens, were genetically modified about 400,000 years ago to become a food race, slave race, sex slave race for the Draconian Empire, Reptilian Empire, Greys, Vampirian races, many other farmer races. So knowing that they are genetically owned by my ancestors, I sometimes, my draconian side just if a human is outspoken or is aggressive to me, my draconian side just wants to attack that person, rip them apart. Like the mental images that fly through my mind, I'm just like, holy shit, I should be locked in a cage somewhere. I don't ever do anything because I have very good control, but off world, they just set me loose on these missions. Dan was talking earlier about how they have competitions where they fight and they kill each other. What they do to us is, if we don't finish a mission in time or on speed, or we fail a mission, they will lock us into a glass cage on a starship, and there will be 3 super soldiers in there. There'll be a bunch of German officers around the tube watching us, and they will make us all drink this vampire blood, which will transfer us all into vampires, and we'll all transfer into vampires, and we'll just rip each other apart, and then we'll all kill each other, and then they'll transfer our consciousness back into a super soldier body and teach us a lesson, but they'll make us feel all the pain and all the fear of being ripped apart, and it's pretty crazy.
Wow. I'm going to ask Dan if he has any questions. Dan, do you have any questions for Hendricks or comments?
No, I mean, my experience is during the beginning of the program. I don't know much because my experience ended in 71 or 72 when I returned. So, and my experience was before that, 53 to 72. So I don't know much about the people who came after that or what other programs came after that. I was in the initial program. In fact, 53 was the time 52 was the ceasefire. 53 we started working with the Nazis, and that's when I was genetically engineered. So I was the first, one of the first. So the program changed, And then you were, Janet, you were in PSYOPs. That was a whole interesting program all by itself. So there's different programs, different programs. That the martial arts kind of thing, martial arts capabilities, high military capabilities. That was a special program. There were many programs. We weren't the only program.
Dan, did you have the same kind of extended weapon where suddenly it gets larger?
Yeah, I could change the size of my blade. It had 3 different sizes. Each blade had 3 different sizes. I could change and make them shorter or longer. But we didn't have the projectile ones. Those were later. I heard about that, but the armor changed over time too. I was there during the initial years, the very first years, first 20 years. That's my program, the first 20. So everything improved after that.
Yeah, so the new armor technology is what they do is because in the Dark Fleet we're special forces, so we do a lot of infiltration into alien bases. So what they do for training is we have to look like we're not a threat going in there. So we have to they throw us into kind of normal avatars with some super soldier abilities. But what our real technology is they'll give us this really small nano, almost organic skin technology that your mission is to infiltrate the base first with this piece of skin. It's undetectable. It registers as your own bio, so they can't detect it. And then what you do is you got to stick it on your skin. You got to find some electricity, something with power source anywhere, and just get that power source like wires and hit that skin, and that skin will grow all over your entire body like scaly reptilian draconian skin, hard as armor, like nothing can pierce it. But what the cool thing is that the helmet wraps around your entire head, almost like the Predator helmet, and you can completely, with your mind, control the nanotechnology, and you can a sword will pop out of your hand, or a gun will pop out of your hand, or a jetpack will pop out of your back, or drone packs will come out of your back where you can control these drones with your mind, and they fly around and they fly through enemy soldiers and cut them apart or blow them up as bombs, stuff like that. It's pretty cool technology they train us off-world.
So who created these programs that you're involved with, Joel? Is this all draconian,
no
or is it,
I have no idea. I'm just a soldier. I'm just a soldier. I just serve. I have no idea who created it. I don't ask. They always tell me a good soldier doesn't ask questions.
Oh wow! So you don't have the backstory.
But you know how to take the weapon apart and put it back together, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we in my with a lot of female super soldier women.
And so you're it's male and female in your facility, your troops.
I mostly work with teams of 5, and I mostly work with female super soldiers. They're way more aggressive and way more fine-tuned in their killing and stuff like that.
Do you want to have sex with them, or is it you don't feel any
I have
an
Asian super soldier girlfriend off-world. Her unit number is 2202. And Dan was talking about how they have holodecks for R&R. All I remember is being on a space station, and where there's a giant mess area where people eat and dance and drink. And me and Unit 2202 were dancing before our mission, and we went and had sex in the bathroom. And she was very special to me. And we're kind of saying our goodbyes because we don't know if we're going to see each other again, because they just usually mind wipe us, and we don't know if we're going to remember each other again until the next mission. So that was the only memory of us of being an R&R.
Fascinating. Okay, we're coming up on a break in about 10 minutes. So you said that you were Starseed. What do you mean by that? Explain that to our listeners.
Starseed means my body is human, but my consciousness is from another dimension, another world. You can Google the definition of starseeds. There's over 66 million starseeds that have incarnated into human bodies, into this lower dimensional field of existence to help humans awake and be aware of their surroundings and raise their consciousness to a 5-dimensional consciousness so they can free themselves of the draconian reptilian empire.
How do you know you're a starseed? How does one know that they're a starseed?
Okay, there's a few easy signs. Starseeds are black sheeps in the family. They have no personality traits of their family. They don't fit in anywhere. High school is such a weird experience for them. They are very outcast. Nothing feels like home on this planet. They're also empaths. They can feel energies of other people, but they think it's their own energy until they learn with time their abilities. They can astral project into other dimensions. They go off world all the time and visit their star families, star cluster families, or soul groups they came here with. And usually how it works is they have a huge awakening. I'm a second generation indigo starseed. The first starseeds were the 1970s, 1960s, the hippie groups. Most of those people killed themselves off because they couldn't handle the energies of mankind. And then the third generation of starseeds are called diamond children, and they are the 2000s babies, and they are like awakened from like age 3 and 4, and their stories all online. I follow all the time of these kids talking about how, mom and dad, you're not really mom or dad. I'm just playing your son in this lifetime. My name is so and so. I'm from this star system. Or these kids jump into their parents' mind when they're sleeping, and they talk to them with full English voices, but they can't talk in the body they're now because they're only 2 years old. And I actually interview a lady a girl that's 10 years old, and she remembers her entire past life from the elf realms, and it's on my YouTube channel called Starseed Talk, and she talks about her entire past life and how the reptilians tricked her to come here, and she portaled in here, and when she came to an incarnation here, when you come to an incarnation tunnel under Earth, and there's 2 large screens, and there's a guy standing there, and he just flicks through the screens as you're in a soul form energy ball, and he says, hey, what lifetime do you want to live here? And he flips it really fast, and you see the entire life before your eyes, everything that's going to happen from start to finish, and you pick that one, and then another tunnel opens up, and you go through this wormhole, and you portal through a human mother, and then you start your incarnation. That's how incarnation works here.
What made you choose the parents you chose this time?
So that's a starseed question. A lot of starseeds ask me that question. They always ask, why did I choose these parents? Why did I choose this life? Why did I choose to be abused as a kid? Or why did I become such a drug addict and stuff like that? And starseeds live really hard lives because the best way to understand a human problem is to live it. Right? You can't study it. You can't read a book about it. You need to live the experience. So I was a drug addict for 6 years, and now I've been 5 years sober when I had my full awakening, and I understand it. So now I know I can help in those areas. Now I can understand what it does to people. Now I can really understand it. It's like a drug addiction counselor that's never been an addict trying to give someone counseling that is an addict. You need to actually live the experience so you can help in those areas.
So Dan and I are from a previous generation, and Dan is trying to get patents on some of the things in reverse engineer. So how does this tie in? We're not really starseeds, but you're awake and conscious, and you're here for a higher purpose. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, they're not reverse engineering. I'm not reverse engineering alien technology. I don't have access to that. And I don't remember how any of that. No, I do physics, and I invent over unity generators, motors, and engines. Over unity means they run by themselves. It's because they draw energy from the vacuum of space-time.
You were supposed to on the ships. Are you kind of bringing it back on a subconscious level and recreating it?
No.
So where are you getting these ideas?
Physics.
Well, there's actually quite a lot of people's inventions where they invented over Unity machines, and it's all over the net. But what I found out of doing this after 4 years, I found out that those are actually tests. Those are recruitment tests by the Secret Space Program. They're looking for physicists to solve those are problems, and they have errors. Each one of the generators that you're seeing is they basically made it so that they don't work, and you got to tell them how it doesn't work, why it doesn't work.
It is. Try it.
Right? Are you still there, Janet?
Right.
So there's a flaw in it, and that's the test. Can you catch and correct the flaw?
So you see a lot of over Unity generators all over the internet, and originally when you look at them, you think, oh, that's really cool. You know, they're over Unity. They pull energy out of the vacuum of space-time. It's really cool. But they're really tests, and that's what got me into doing it. Is I wanted to look at those and see if they were real. So I figured out whether they worked or not, and most of them didn't. But in the process of looking at 20 or 30 of them, you actually start figuring out how to do it. You figure out the mistakes. So I was just curious about all of those that were on the internet. I thought, is it really possible? I had to figure out. I had to study the math and study the electrical engineering to figure it out, and I did.
Look, since I got to ask you a question, because I had a guy living on our property for a long time, and he was trying to get two magnets to swing free and bounce each other back with their positive and negative poles forever, but it never worked. And he would get money, and he would work on it, and never find. Do you have anything like that with magnets in the stuff?
No. Oh, no. There's nothing that moves in my generators. There's no moving parts. The engine and the motor are different. They have moving parts, but the generator has no moving parts. So I'm way past that swinging magnets. I actually looked at that one time, and I came up with a solution to that problem. And it's kind of cool, it was a little toy thing. But it's not really a full-blown generator. Full-blown generator should have no moving parts.
So, were you both exposed to technology? Hendricks, were you on board ships? And so you did, yeah. You were at places where they had the politics and everything. Were you aware how the ships operated on any level? Like what kind of propulsion system, or how did it work? Did you have any idea?
So the technology that I can remember, it's like a movie trailer. So we would fly the Draconian teardrop ships. So those ones are flown by, you sit in almost like a lazy boy in the middle of the ship, and you have behind you have a bunch of different avatar super soldiers. Then you have the main one, you're sitting up suited ready for your mission, and you just lay in it. There's no controls with your hands, and your mind comes one with the ship. You are the ship. You have a bird's eye view, cockpit view, just like a video game. It's completely the same way. You can look out of the ship, see the ship fly left and right. You can shoot missiles, beams, anything you want out of it. It's completely cloaked at all times. That's one of the rules of flying in Earth space or airspace. And I've had many missions of those where the teardrop ship's cloaked. It goes into Kuwait. It's completely cloaked, sitting there in almost like clouds, or it can project itself as a cloud sitting there. Your super soldier cloaks with the nanotechnology, jumps out of the back onto the ground. It does its mission work, infiltration work. Sometimes we have child avatars on board the ship where our consciousness will be transferred to a child avatar, and we will be on the surface of Kuwait. There's tons of child sex slave rings in Kuwait and underground bases there. And one of our missions was to be in a child avatar, be a homeless kid, and be captured by sex slavers. And we'd have transponders in our child avatar bodies. And I got captured and taken to this underground facility where these Catholic churches were. And there was the captured kids, and then there was the kids that were born into sex slavery, and they were super programmed children, where they, doing the naughty stuff was normal to them like that. They don't know anything better because these kids are grown up in cages and they're not shown the outside world, so they are abused and they think that's normal. And trying to free those ones is the hardest because they actually want to stay because they're loyal to their masters. They're sold off at auctions. Anyways, so I was captured in this base, And I got taken to the underground base, which was shielded from off-world technology to find it. And I escaped down to this waterfall, jumped on this waterfall. All these kids had these hooks on their necks, and they were hanging on trees that they were disobedient and left their dead bodies there to show to other kids to behave. And I jumped down this waterfall, and I swam to shore, and I got captured again. And they shot and killed me on sight. But then my consciousness started to float out of my child avatar, and they got super weirded out. And my consciousness floated right back up into my ship, and I hopped into a super soldier body. But I went back, flew the ship back up into space, back to Space Command, went back aboard this massive space station, was greeted by 4 of the super soldiers, and they were connecting something to my mind, where my mind completely was debriefed in this holographic computer, which showed them my entire memories, their location, everything, how many troops were there, et cetera, et cetera. Then we got the green light from command, and we went back on my teardrop ship with a team of 5 super soldiers, and we come down into Kuwait, and we went over to the compound, and they opened the back door, and then you just jump out, and there's high winds. We pop our parachutes, and we're using so when we're on Earth, we can only use Earth-based weapons, surface-based weapons.
Remember where you are, Gilbert. We're on commercial break.
He's in the air.
You're in the air. Pause right there. Mute. We'll be back in 4 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
20 years from now, would you be willing to trade all days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance, to come back here and tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom?
The future is uncertain. I know this. This is inevitable. I know this. One thing is certain. As free men, it is our right to live unencumbered and in peace. And those times are quickly drawing to an end. And in these times, peace is certainly an illusion. And as the chains grow tighter, our ability to slip those chains increase incrementally with every passing moment.
Don't give you like a correct answer thing?
There's no longer an option. It's time to raise our voices like a cacophony of thunder and lightning and tell the masters no more. And this is Nighthawk, and I say, for myself, no more. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, because the freedom is slipping away.
Hello, my name is Mr. Rowe. I am the host of Reality Extraction, Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I utilize logic, intellect, and magic to methodically autonomize, vivisect, analyze, examine, study, scrutinize, and extract an essence of reality from a fog of illusion and confusion. You can find me on Studio B every Thursday, 1700 hours Pacific Time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. No topic taboo, no subject too strange. I strive to take a neutral standpoint during the dissection of the topic at hand. That's Reality Extraction with Mr. Rowe on Revolution Radio.
We're an anarcho-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a simple majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. You stupid bastard. You've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. It's just a flesh wound. And believe in such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity. I'll do you for that. What? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible! You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs!
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Feel that things were not quite right, that everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. All right. Thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stargate to the Cosmos, and I'm your host, Janet Carol Lesin, with Dr. Sasha Alex Lesin, and today our guest is Stargate, and we're on Revolution Radio, Studio B. Before we get back to our show, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to the donation button on revolution.radio. Top left tab is where you can make your one-time donation, and the Patreon button is where you can make your recurring donation, and we do thank you very much for making your donations because you allow us to bring you these shows and we're having fun. What do you like to say, Sasha, before we get back to the second half of our show?
Okay, well, General Hendricks is just relating his incredible attempt at rescue in Kuwait, and that's ancient Sumer, and for a long time we've known that there's something there very, very special in Kuwait that everybody wants, and so I'm fascinated by your special your mission there and what happens and how do you get these people out that really love their masters and don't want to leave and you're trying to rescue them.
Right. So I want to kind of the first part of the second half kind of wrap up all the dark stuff, and the last half hour let's focus on what can we do about all this? What are the positive outcomes of what we can do? So go ahead and finish your story, Hendricks. Thank you.
Okay, so we're jumping out of the plane. Or the ship, whatever you want to call it, and we're in high winds, and I remember the wind in my hair like it was yesterday, the wind in my face, it was the most coolest experience of my life. And what they do before these missions, I should back up the story, is they make us drink this substance that takes all fear out of us. Like we have no fear of judgment, we don't act with remorse, so all our fears are taken away. So we land on the ground. There's 5 of us. We got surface earth weapons. We're not allowed any off-road technology for this stuff. But we obviously don't look human. We're like 8 feet tall, 700 to 1,000 pounds heavy, just jacked muscles, and running through this compound. It's acres and acres big, and there's tanks on the ground. Kuwaiti soldiers, they're protecting this compound with this giant mansion on it. Underneath the mansion is this giant underground compound that is this giant sex slave ring that produces kids for the world to be sold to. So we rip through it. We're killing enemy soldiers. There's probably over easily 100 of them. We're just ripping through them. We get pinned down by Kuwaiti aircraft, and we have these cloaked drones that are connected to our consciousness, and they uncloak and they fly up and they shoot these planes down, and they cloak back up and they fly off, and they do scouting for us, and they're projecting images into our mind at all time, like a bird's eye view of what's in front of us. So after we take out all the soldiers, we come onto the compound. We're radioing in to command when I'm saying radio in, we're like telepathically talking to our command, and we're like, do we have the green light to go in? And they're like, hold, we need you need air, like heavy air support. So they send down 2 more teardrop ships that are cloaked, and they decloak above us, and they're waiting to go in because the top of the roof of the mansion starts opening up, and this giant spacecraft shoots off into space. The teardrop ships go after it, and they give us the green light to go in it. So the owner of the mansion was trying to escape back off world, and we get into the mansion. There's nothing but women, children, slaves, servants in there. Meats hanged up on the wall, like really rare off-world meats, humans skinned alive there, hanging there in the meat shops. These people really loved eating human meat or rare meats off-world. The women slaves there were very inviting us to freedom. They were so happy, but they don't even know what the word freedom means. They're just happy to not be there. And what they did is they sat us down at a massive table, and they're like, we're going to feed you a dinner. And I was like, okay, so we're all sitting there with our headsets on, like super soldier looking at the table. We're talking about how many confirmed kills we had. I had 44 confirmed kills. And I remember them giving me another ringing in my ear, and I was like, it's time to leave. And they took my consciousness out of that body, threw me back into this body with complete memory of everything that happened. And I had to go read Realtor for the day. And I wrote down the entire story on a voice notepad, and then I had emotions and memories of it. And freeing kids that don't want to be freed. So it's this, we're trying to stop the currency of human trafficking, slavery all over the galaxy, not just Earth. And you have to weed out the deep underground roots of this slavery system. And that's the only way you're going to do it, is by busting all these underground bunkers and getting them out of here, because it's massive. There's a bunch of them in New York City, LA, over 800,000 kids a year alone go missing in the United States alone for their adrenochrome and for their blood and for the reptilians to eat and stuff like that. So it's a massive, massive problem that we're finally, the alliances are finally using their off-world technology on surface Earth to finally liberate Earth from their problems.
Wow. Well, yeah, it sounds pretty horrendous. So this has been going on for centuries, right?
Oh, hundreds of thousands of years. Yeah, this is not normal. Yeah, this is.
So which souls end up coming in to be humans, end up as these slaves? Is there like a system that sorts souls, and some end up as, the elites and the ones in charge, and some of us, we just lose the lottery, end up being meat for others?
It's never
very interesting.
It's never a lottery. It's this is a slave-controlled planet where we are. So when your body consciousness dies, it goes to the white light, which everyone talks about, and it's like a soul net, and your soul hits that net, and your memories get wiped out, and you fall back to Earth, and you portal through another human woman here, and you start an incarnation all over again, the new family, new friends, memories like from your past. Like some people have their memories, it depends how spiritually evolved they are, and they have to live another life all over again, go through the school brainwash system and do it all over again. So this whole entire planet is set up to be distractive. So like you have to go to work, you're brainwashed from elementary school and high school and college, everything you're taught is a complete lie, history is all a lie, everything is designed to give you a perception of this reality. Your fast foods, fluoride, artificial sugars, everything is designed to poison you, keep you docile, dumb, and stupid. They actually got all that food technology from Nazi Germany in World War II. The fluoride in the water was from them. And, you have to pay taxes, you got to work, drugs, all that stuff. It's all designed to make you dumb and get health issues, sick, die, reincarnate without any spiritual ascension work, and then you have to do it all over again. So some people have been here for thousands and thousands of incarnations, they just don't remember it.
So have you come back as one of these slave children, or do you miss that because of the work you've done as a soul? Do you go back, or do you evolve?
Very old, so I'm 96 trillion years old. My soul is in Earth years, and I only do the slavery system for the military groups because it has a purpose of freeing them. So I get this question a lot. They're like, if you're draconian, and your species eats humans, and why do you free them from slavery? Well, I personally, I'm a vegan Draco. I don't eat human meat at all. My mom is a vegan Draco. She doesn't eat human at all. My dad and my sister, Draconian sisters, they are completely different than I am. They actually came here. My sister, Draconian sister, came here about 4 months ago, and she visited me after she was in Kandahar. She was in Kandahar, and she said there's underground bases there where she ate 11 to 12 kids, and she calls Earth the buffet. And came and like picked me up, and she was very dominating. It wasn't a very good experience for me. She was very looks at me like I'm a very weak vegan. Like, why are you a vegan? Like, why do you have compassion for these slaves type thing? Because they're very dominating personalities. My dad likes to take me off world and put me in my draconian adolescence body, and he will like torture me and beat me up and stuff like that because he thinks I'm too weak or I'm just like my mother. And so draconian families are very tough.
Wow, want to be them. Okay, so how about you guys? Do you have any questions for each other? Do you have any, Hendricks, do you have any questions for Dan?
Yeah, Dan, why don't you just join back up, and then you can see all the new technology?
Yeah, I actually got invited a bunch of times. But they want me as a physicist. You know, I'm 60s. They want me as a physicist. I'm really good at physics, and they want me to join up, and they keep inviting me to do that. The generals met with my attorneys, so I have witnesses to the invitations more than 3 times. Each time they go, oh, we got $100 million for your project. It's always $100 million for the project. So they keep trying to get me in as a physicist. But the inventions I do, I want for the world, not for the secret space program. I work for the secret space program. I want the technology released.
Yeah, that the release thing is, I've heard a lot of people bringing off-world technology onto Earth, and we have a thing called time technology. So if someone actually brings something substantial to Earth attention, they actually just go back in time and go to your house or where you have the technology, take the technology, mind wipe you, and then the future plays on where that technology never came out. So a lot of people do try to bring out off-world technology, but there's a lot of groups and a lot of alien groups that are fighting to keep this as a slave planet. And there are a lot of groups that are actually fighting to free the slave planet. Like, there's a lot of disclosure that has been coming out in our movies and TV shows for the last 30 years. Like, it's all in there. Like, the ICC is actually in the original Alien movie. If you look at the name tags of the buildings, and Star Trek is about our current secret space program, and Star Wars is about a past war that happened in the Ryan Wars. And Stargate SG-1 is all full disclosure. Stargate Atlantis is all full disclosure. Avatar is full disclosure. It's pre-programming our minds and consciousness over the last 30 years that, you know, when it does come out, that we're not too shocked because we've seen this stuff in movies. And a lot of child video games that are played of alien incursions like Halo and stuff like that is all full disclosure. So they are giving us full disclosure slowly. There's tons of testimonies, like Admiral Byrd's testimony about New Berlin, Antarctica, where this all started, where Solar War happened, Dark Fleet started, where the aliens contacted Germans and the Americans, stuff like that. It's all coming out, so it's nice to see that people are starting to be aware of it. Plus, Trump came out with Space Force, and he's slowly coming out with that stuff, so it's good.
Well, he wanted to come out with more, but he's prohibited. Eshed is a really big move for the space program to give us that much information. They never did that. They never gave us this much information before. General Eshed, who's in charge for 30 years, in charge of the secret space program for Israel. So he's going to give us a lot. That's going to be a lot more disclosure than a lot of people are actually coming to me going, "Oh my God, you mean it's real?" I start laughing. I said, "Go ahead, ask your questions." You know.
Yeah, no, there's even the TR-3B. You can Google. That's a patent for the United States Air Force. That's the black triangle anti-gravity technologies that they just came out with. That's been around for the last 50 years.
Yeah, that's old stuff. But the more recent patents were the compact fusion generator. That's the 1 watt in, the 1,000 watt out generator. They have the gigawatt one and the terawatt one. This is the first over Unity. The first time the Navy NASA actually did it back with the M drive, but then now the Navy's actually doing it with the compact fusion generators, where they're saying, hey, guess what? Over Unity's real. Yes, you can suck energy from the vacuum of space and use it. That's what they're saying. They're not giving you, they're not giving you anything viable. Those particular generators were meant to replace nuclear power plants. It's a swap they're supposed to swap them out. So all nuclear power plants are supposed to be phased out within the next 10 to 20 years, and they're supposed to be replaced with the compact fusion generators, but those are really weak. Those aren't really very powerful, and they're thinking about coming out with more serious technology. See, I'm an independent inventor, and they know what I do because they talk to me often, the military, U.S. military. The NSA general that was recruiting me, he was the one that said Star Trek was just a poll. We were polling the people who wanted to see how many people believed that technology was real. And he said, we were very disappointed, only 4%. Does you have any idea what 4% of the United States was in 1965? That Star Trek was a poll. They brought it out in 65. Anyway, go ahead. I'm going to take too much time.
No, you're doing great. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, I'm very interested to hear, Hendricks, if you have any information on this thing that Dan had been telling us about, where the entrance to and from the this segment of the galaxy was being controlled by forces that were protecting us from being wiped out, and that there was this critical thing going on at this with this avian. I guess it's 3 different species that were coming, sphere beings coming to watch this portal and not let the people that have been perpetrating the kind of trade you're describing escape. They can't get away. And I just wonder if you have anything on that also.
That's the Corey Good story. So I met the sphere beings 3 years ago. I was in my house and sleeping, and I just become an empath, so I can feel energy. So I felt this amazing energy. I can't even describe it in human terms. So I felt this energy come into my house, and it woke me up at like 3 a.m. I look up, there's this beautiful purple, blue, greenish orb floating just underneath my roof, just floating there and pulsating energy. And it's completely telepathically not talking to me English, but the aliens talk in metaphors. That's the best way for communication. Universal communication is pictures. They put pictures in your mind with feelings and emotions, and you just get it. It's like they can transfer that. They can transfer that in your mind 1,000 times a minute, and you're like reading textbooks after textbooks within seconds. And it was just there. It was waking me up, giving me a complete mental download. And then it just took off. It went right through my roof, and it just left a purple mist among my entire roof of my house. It was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And I was just in such awe. I'm like, where's my cell phone, right? And I just go to take a picture, and it was all gone. And I have recorded draconians, reptilians, and vampire races coming through. They always come through your closet. For some reason, they like to go through your closet. And they'd always come at 3 in the morning, 3:26 a.m. to come visit me. And I remember my ex-girlfriend that I was with, they came in through my closet. This giant black draconian head walks right through my floor, like it's walking up a flight of stairs, right through my floor. It's showing its huge face, its big claws, and it just reaches out. It touches my girlfriend. My girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend at the time, stands up, and she goes into trance. She's completely in trance, and they're speaking through her to me, and they're like, and she looks at me with her eyes closed. She's like, don't worry. They're here for you, not for me. They're not going to hurt you or me. They just want to take you somewhere. And then they completely knock her out. She drops to the ground. She's completely snoring, like she's sleeping in a deep sleep. And I'm trying to wake her up because I'm freaking out, because it's like when it's happening in your bedroom, you're like, holy shit. It's this crazy experience. And they just reach out and they grab me, and my soul just leaves my body, and I see my earth body start snoring and falling asleep on the bed. And then I wake up in this giant festival on this draconian world, and I'm hanging out with people that I know, and they're all in their Draco bodies. They look at me, they're patting me on the back, they're eating a feast of food, we're playing draconian games, and it's such a cool experience, man. I wish I could visually share that with people.
So are these species good, bad? I mean, do they have the same oral codes that humans do?
There's no such thing as good or bad. Good or bad is just perception, right? So if the cows and chickens and pigs of this world could write a Bible, they'd make humans the devil. Birds think cats are the devil, but cats to us are the cutest things ever. What they think they're doing to us is just they're just eating us, right? Just like how we drive through McDonald's drive-through and order a cheeseburger, we're eating a cow, right? Just like on Draconian worlds, there's human women chained up to walls and they rape them until they're dead and then eat them right after or suck their life force out. And that's just normal to them. It's just a normal day going to Walmart for them. They have no care in the world for us, most races, because we're just a genetic surface race and we're just a farm race. So, you have to remember their perception is what we think of cows, dogs, and insects.
So let's start shifting. We have about, 30, 40 minutes left. What positive outcome can we possibly achieve from all this information? This is, to me, it's disclosure. We just keep talking about what's going on, and people are waking up left and right all over the place. And, every time we connect to 2 or more, 3 or 4 of us, and we start comparing notes, we get more and more information that comes out of this. I'm going to go back to you, Dan. Visualizing the greatest possible outcome, and you were talking about disclosure. We're waiting for disclosure. What does that look like? How are we going to go from this paradigm where we're just a bunch of meat products and slaves for the intergalactic, brothels and meat markets? How do we shift from that to being equals, like the Star Trekian worlds where, the Federation is there, the good Federation, and we're equals, and humans are seen as something to be revered and respected rather than just a bunch of farm animals. Dan, you first. How do you see this working out?
Well, I'm really positive because now you're seeing one of the high level. Probably he might even be on the Central Committee, 200 members of the ICC on the Central Committee, and that particular person, but he's high up in the secret space program, the head of the Israel secret space program. And you should be seeing more countries coming forward and giving out more information. And so they wouldn't do that if if the barrier wasn't around our solar system, they wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't have seen anything in the newspapers. It would all have been flushed, all have been suppressed. You wouldn't see anything. None of that would have come out if the Draco were still in command, and they're not. We have these Spearbeam Alliance put the barrier around our solar system. They can't get in, they can't get out, and they know it. They have assets here, and they continue to go forward, and they're continuing to tell the United States, well, you have to hold to the treaties, and we're going to figure out how to take this barrier down. But the barrier is not going to be taken down because they don't have the abilities. The United States doesn't have nobody here has the ability to take down the outer barrier around our solar system. So we have a chance, and they know it. And now that's what the secret space program, that's what the ICC is coming out here telling you. They're telling you, hey, we're not afraid of the Draco. Look, we're now going to start talking to you. Now let's see how far it goes. They're going to bring more leaders out, or how much information is he going to give? We'll see. This is definitely a lot further than Boyd Bushman. Boyd Bushman didn't give very much at all. But this guy started out giving quite a bit, and let's see what his book is. Let's see what the interviews are going to be. Let's see how much information we get. Let's see what other secret space program leaders in the other countries come forward and start talking. I'm thinking maybe India, even China, Russia. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
You said before that China, Russia, and India are countries that had been promised a piece of the pie and weren't getting it, and they had developed their own programs. And I know that they're looking at parts of the moon, for example, that NASA has denied any kind of information about.
Well, I don't know about whether they have bases on the moon. I suspect both China and India have bases on the moon. Their programs were developed up to where they should be able to do that, but they'd be small bases. They're not going to be any real huge military bases. These aren't very advanced civilizations, and that's why they go on along with the secret space program, because they don't have anything. They don't have any of that tech. None of that tech was given to them, and they're madly trying to reproduce it, but they can't because it's very difficult to invent that stuff.
So the U.S. was the only one given the technology. Is that what you're saying?
The Germans.
Yeah, the Germans. The Nazis won the war. Then they made an agreement.
Right.
Then they made an alliance with the United States. And that alliance morphed over time into just the ICC, and they're not like the Nazis anymore. They weren't even like the Nazis when I was deployed in 69, when I was deployed in 69, they weren't even like that then because they were just different. It wasn't like the Nazis that attacked the United States way back when. They changed, and that's what Eshad is telling you. Eshad is telling you, hey, the Nazis aren't in control. They don't run the ICC. Hey, we're Jews and we're here and we're part of the secret space program. That's what he's telling you. I've been telling you, I'm Jewish. I was made Jewish on purpose by the Nazis. Actually, the Japanese. The Japanese wanted to piss off the Nazis because they knew I was going to get deployed with Nazis. So they mixed a little Jewish blood in there. Actually, quite a lot of Jewish blood. And so I'm Jewish. And yet I served in Draco with the Nazis for 20 years. No problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
My turn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just want to elaborate on what Dan said about the Nazis did win World War II. The Americans were forced into a treaty in 1952 with Antarctica Germans after Admiral Byrd was sent down there in Operation, was it High Jump? And he was sent down there to find New Berlin because all those 300,000 Nazis disappeared in Argentina and Antarctica. Hitler actually died a decade or so ago in Argentina of old age, and the FBI knew about it, and they actually released those documents online. But anyways, after Admiral Byrd was sent down to Antarctica, he was attacked. His entire fleet was attacked by 3 flying saucers that had Nazi swastikas on them, and their ships were cut in half with laser technology, and they were radioed by the Nazis. They're like saying, "Don't ever come back down here, or we'll just come and attack your country," and stuff like that. So the Admiral Byrd was limped back to Washington Capitol. He was debriefed, and he told his commanding officer, the president, what happened, and they made this top secret over all nuclear weapons, like it was the toppest secret, and no one could find this out because they didn't want to scare the general public. And then in 1952, there was that massive flyover of all those flying saucers over the Capitol Hill, and they were just floating there, and the military tried to shoot them down. Nothing happened, and there was a meeting between the Antarctica Germans and the president at the time where the United States was forced into making a treaty where the Germans could use their United States industrial might to build bases on the moon and Mars, and in return the Germans will keep the existence of aliens as top secret and give the Americans flying saucer technology and spacecraft technology, and that's how Dark Fleet was created, and then also that's how Solar Warden was later created on. So the Americans and Nazis had their own space groups, and then over time, like countries like Israel, Russia, China, UK found out, Canada found out, and the United States and Dark Fleet to shut them up so in the full disclosure wouldn't come out, they would just give them a little bit of technology or a seat on a council somewhere, kind of like if you ever watched Stargate Atlantis, where there's this giant base in another galaxy where they Stargate travel there, and everyone has different flags on their arms where they come from, and they think they're a part of something great, but they're very like filtered information because the United States and the Germans wanted to keep the full power at the time. I don't know the politics now, who's in charge or anything. I just serve when I'm needed, so.
Very interesting. Okay, so we have like about a half hour left. Do you have any questions or comments, Sasha? Okay. Where can we go with this information? How can we get to the other side? What does that look like? So we have all these technologies. What about like extreme living, physical immortality or long lives? Have either of you experienced those technologies? Are they going to be brought forth?
I've done age regression technology where after your 20-year tour, they age regress you back to 6 years old, and then they put you back in time from when they first took you and before all your training started, and they give you a nanite technology in your bloodstream where they block the memories in your brain of what happens, and then I've been through the age regression a few times. I've been through Sorry, I'm having a memory block. Sometimes I go blank, so I'll let Dan continue.
So let me ask you a question about the age. So how did they get your body small again? Is it like Benjamin Button? I mean, how do they? Did they put you in a different body? You don't know. You just suddenly you're in a 6-year-old body again. Okay.
I woke up in an age regression tank, and I was in there for 3 weeks. It was a floating city that was cloaked on Earth somewhere, and we're in these little separate glass domes that are as big as a king bed, and you're laying in this bed, and you're slowly getting younger and younger and younger until you're 6, and then they transport you back in time to when they take you, and then the rest I told you. So.
Okay. So Dan, you said that when you returned after your tour of duty, they didn't let you keep your genetically enhanced form, and they returned you into a clone. Tell our listeners about that.
Yeah, they make when I got deployed at 17 and a half, they make a clone of you at 17 and a half. Then they put that clone in stasis. This was my group. That was the original technology. Things changed since then. And I wouldn't know what the changes are, but I know what they did with us. And so we went out and we served for 20 years. Now I'm a 35-year-old, all combat worn, but yet still quite dangerous to bring back to Earth. So then they transfer my soul out of that 35-year-old body into the 17-and-a-half-year-old body, and they bring it out of stasis, and then they return me right at the moment they took me. So they go back, the ship goes back in time and brings you, and then they transport you down right exactly where they took you at the time they took you. So one body comes up and one body goes down.
Yeah, your generation of super soldier, actually, you guys ever see the new Will Smith movie? It's called Gemini Man?
No.
Okay, look it up. It's about Will Smith. He's a very advanced soldier, and they actually clone him, and his clone is like 17-year-old kid, but with the clone, they alter the clone. Like the clone can't feel feelings, emotions, and he's like genetically altered to be faster, smarter, wiser. So anyways, Will Smith is like a top-end killer, and his agency wants to take him out, so they send his clone after him, and his clone is beating him up, and then the clone like looks at him weird, like, and the Will Smith's like, oh my god, you're my younger self, like who are, like they have no idea who each other are, and then they find out there's a third clone of him, and like that was full disclosure right there of like the very early stages of super soldier cloning technology.
So they can basically do soul transference, and so a person can basically be immortal. So what is that, the original soul that goes from form to form? You remember the old transporter dilemma? If I agree to be dissolved and transported across the galaxy, am I going to be me, or did the original person die? Is the original soul that was born to the original body going into the new avatar, or is that just like our memories of our mind?
They're called alters. So when they're the dark side of how they make alters is when they take you at 6 years old, they will throw you into torture camps where they need to break your mental consciousness into different alters. Like they want a mean alter to come out. And what they'll do is they'll clone your body. And once they break you through raping you, killing you repeated, reviving you, being eaten alive by live spiders or whatever it is to break you, there's an alter ego that comes out of you that's super aggressive, super dominant, not scared of everything, just so angry all the time. And they actually transfer that part of your soul consciousness into that avatar, and then it's like it has no compassion, nothing. It's just all angry 24/7. And then you have your fractured soul back in your original body, and you feel like you're missing something. You're missing that anger. You're missing that aggressiveness, craziness that you need. And then they use that avatar with the clone in it, and they can clone that body many times, and then they transfer that consciousness into new super soldiers that if that original clone copy has been killed, so he can repeatedly do missions off world.
So I go to a different place in the universe. I seem to be an ambassador, and I talked to Elizabeth April, and she's been there. We go to these huge meetings with hundreds of thousands of species, and there's not an angry thought or vibe, and everything's peaceful. And that seems to be the majority of the universe. And then we have this little part that we're in. I guess it's
Yeah.
galaxy. It is so, like, it's acting out
Earth
for
is
the
special.
come down here and be pissed off. Yeah, so is that correct? Is that your perception? I want to hear from both of you. Dan, how's the...
Sorry.
Let me hear from Dan first. Dan, how is the cosmos organized? Is it all a bunch of people just killing each other, different species all the time? Or is there peace anywhere in existence?
No, but a lot of advanced species are conquered. Like, example, the Nordics down below. They were conquered by the Draco because the Draco are conquerors and they have millions of planets in their realm. Because that's what they do. That's their thing, okay? So other peaceful planets, they don't go out and they don't make alliances with other warlike planets. They don't engage in war, so they're easily dominated, easily taken over. The spear beings can salvage some races, but not all races. They're able to keep some races can prosper, but only the promising ones. And so we're a promising race. We were built to be quite advanced, and we're a very promising race, and they hope that one day we'll be able to join the Spirit Being Alliance and become the sixth race to basically police the universe, you know. They go out and they try to keep the Draco and other species like that in check. Artificial intelligence is also a problem. They try to keep that in check too. So what was your question, Janet?
Is there any hope?
Did I lose you?
Why did I come here? This is so dark. I don't want to be here. No, I just I'm looking
I know what you were trying to say. So, but they keep to their own realms. They really, well, yeah, it could be dark, but the spirit beings rule the spirit beings rule the Draco in a sense. The Draco they don't have technology that surpasses the spirit beings. So the good guys are really in command. They just want you to be able to stand on your own legs and defeat the Draco on your own. That's why they surrounded our solar system, to give us the time to learn how to defeat the Draco on our own. So first we defeat them in our own solar system, and then we know how to go out and free other planets. That'll be our thing. Going out freeing other planets from the Draco, it'll be a thing. I had a vision. It'll be a really big thing. To be the commander of the fleet that goes out and saves the planets that were taken over by the Draco. So we actually do that in the future. Like 1,000 years from now, we have large fleets that go out and take over the Draco planets that are taken. We free all the planets. So.
Yeah, I'll give you guys a little more elaboration on the Draco world. So it's not just the Draco. It's the Draco Empire, which is like reptilians, greys. There's lots of different alien species in it. But you also remember there's good and bad in every species from a human perception. Like myself, I'm a rogue Draco that chooses to be a vegan Draco and help humans free their slices. I'm also here for animals too. And so there are lots of Dracos and reptilians out there that are actually good from your perception, that actually are in a civil war fighting their own brothers and sisters to help enlighten our ancient control system that's been going on for millions and millions of years. And there's not just Earth, there's thousands of Earths that are like that are all over the galaxy that are in the Draco Empire that are controlled by the vampire races, all the other reptilian races as farmer races. And Dan is right, like we need to find out how to beat them here, and I will always stand by the humans and I will help them out as much as I can and try to educate my fellow Draconian brothers and sisters to get them on our side. And as soon as we know how to beat them in our own galaxy, then we can go out and free the other slave worlds, because there's so many slave worlds out there that don't even have secret space program technology or anything. If you watch the TV series Stargate SG-1, the Dracos or reptilians, the metaphor is the Goa'uld that are there, and it's full disclosure there of our whole history of how they came to Earth, took the humans from here, genetically altered us, and pitted us on other planets all over the galaxy, and let us grow and prosper to mine us for food later down the road.
Wow. Sash, raise your voice.
Well, if everything's part of everything anyhow, then it couldn't be any other way than it is, and it's perfect. And so all you got to do is just dig it. But I know nobody thinks that but me. I'm a transpersonal existentialist.
Okay, we have a few minutes left in the show.
That's not a question, Sasha. That's not a question, Sasha. Try again.
Ask a question.
What do you think about the thought that everything is as it should be and it couldn't be any better, and the things that and S within, so without, and what's going on in the various universes and galaxies as the very things that are going on within each of us? That's my picture of it. My question is, what do you think of that?
Well, the Super Federation in this galaxy, they're the Time Lords, and so they don't allow time to be deviated. You can make a change in time, and if it's significant, then you have to go back and fix it. That's the sanction. We did that. The United States went back and changed time so it looked like the U.S. won the war, and then we were punished by the Super Federation. They said you got to fix it. You got to put the natural timeline back. So yeah. There is one natural timeline, and any unnatural deviation from it you have to fix it. There are Time Lords. Time is used for certain things. You're allowed to go and check up on history. You're allowed to use time for traveling, temporal drive, transportation, but you're not allowed to go back and change things. See, that's the big deal. You can't change significant things. Small changes, okay.
I woke up in the middle of a dream and I was doing something. And I go, what am I doing? And I was taking large pieces of the universe and like pulling it from one corner and pull it over to on top of another section. And this voice answered, telepathically, "You're a Time Lord. You're repairing the time." And I went, what? And I never heard of that. And then you're talking about a Time Lord fixing things. So my highest selves. Could I possibly be a Time Lord and I do repair? And I've always been fascinated with time. So I don't know. It was just an interesting, quote-unquote, dream. Okay, back to whoever wants to speak. Take the invisible talking suit. Hendricks,
You served as a Psi Corps. So Psi Corps, one of their major tasks was to control time. They were the ones that would, before a ship would jump, if that ship was going to make a time deviation, then they would appear. They were the men in black or women in black that appeared on your ship and said, "No, stop! Don't push that button. You can't do the temporal drive right now. That'll be a time deviation." So PSYOPs was the ones that actually, for the United States, they carried out those missions. So if you have memories of that kind of activity, they're probably correct.
Well, my main big thing that I've done is I met with the dragon. I called the dragon at the end of time. It was like interdimensional, but in the earth. And so, we plugged into each other. Like we looked at each other's eyes, and she was as big as Smaug in Lord of the Rings, but she, projected herself down into an avatar so we could be looking at each other. And there were about 1,000, Anunnaki, and there were Draco. There were all the different species and a bunch of, world leaders and a bunch of, military, and they were watching us. Somehow I plugged into the dragon, and so every question that anybody had, they were asking simultaneously, and it was all coming through me, and then I kind of like collapsed at the end of it, and they plopped me back in my bed. So somehow they call me the key, and that's not this Janet avatar, but somehow on this other level that I operate on, I'm like this key, and I'm able to like interpret. Have you ever heard anything like that? And apparently the dragons are real, and she can come in and out of the center of the earth. It's just like teleport herself. And I saw her partner, who is male, and space is like their air, so they're it's so huge. They fly through space, and it's their environment. Have you heard, either of you heard of the dragon species besides our mythology?
Yeah, the dragon species in the Draco system.
And
yeah. So apparently I'm somehow connected to that. Go ahead, Dan.
Draco means dragon.
Right. So I'm somehow connected. And she said to me, even though I look nothing like you, I am your mother, and I am the mother of every person on Earth. I am the mother at the core. And I didn't quite understand that, but I kind of understand it. So go ahead. What do you think of that?
Are you talking to me?
Either of you.
Well, there are different kinds of species of reptilians, so we don't know what species you were involved with during your engagement with Psycor. So we don't know what reptilian. There are many different kinds of reptilians. The Draco are reptilians, but they're also draconian dragons. That's why we call them dragons, because they look like dragons.
Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that created me.
The ones created you. So who's in Balmoral? Who's in the Queen? What species of reptilians do they interact with?
White Draco.
White with red eyes, right?
Yeah, I met her once. She's very dominating. We're all standing in a line on this green grassy planet, and we're all on our knees. And there's this massive, like an upright draconian, with massive white wings. She's beautiful white skin and massive red eyes, and she's walking up to the very beginning of the line, and she looks down on us like we're her servants. And I was at the very head of the line. I was so scared. I was just like shaking in my body, and everyone was so excited to meet her finally. And I just look up at her, and she was the most beautiful being you'll ever meet in your life. She's so gorgeous, so commanding, so dominating. And for some reason, I think we're just genetically programmed to be so loyal to her. And I just remember she reached down to pick me up in her hand, and I just teleported myself out of that body into this body, and I was like shaking, and then she appeared in my mind, and she's like, "Where'd you go?" I'm just like, I'm too scared to talk to you right now. I'm sorry. And then, a lot of the elaborate on the dragon beings. The dragons of Izmi are the red dragons, the black dragons. I myself am a black ancient dragon, draconian consciousness, and my parents are dragon beings, like massive dragon beings, like their real forms. They're like as big as, like you said, as smog. They like to appear in my mind, and I'm just this little infant draconian that they created, and I just project an energy field around me so they can't hurt me, and they'll just like shoot fire at me, and they'll just like toss me around like a bouncy ball, just kind of like playing with me in a draconian sense of humor. Then they'll just like look at me, and they project themselves into your mind. It's very hard to explain in human terms. Sorry.
I understand it's hard to explain. So the dragon I met was pure love. I mean, it was nothing but love. It was like...
Oh, there's lots of good draconians, yeah.
Living in love, yeah.
There's the gold dragons, and, the best ones, those ones.
She was gold. She had, when she moved, it was kind of like rainbow. You could see different... depending on how her scales.
I'll give you guys a quick 30-second history on the Draconian Empire that is very interesting. So before the reptilians came into existence, there was just draconians, like dragon beings. And they actually, the golden dragons, this is trillions of years ago, they actually protected the realms of lower density beings from other outside interference. So these lower beings, which they call humans or other species in other worlds, could develop naturally and be protected without any influence. Then the reptilians came into existence. They came from another dimension into this dimension, and they completely overpowered the draconians. There was a massive draconian reptilian war. Tons of draconian homeworlds fell. My purple planet was one of them that got destroyed in this battle trillions of years ago. And then there was a big and then the draconians were more powerful, but there was not as many of them as the reptilians. And it was just the draconians would decimate the reptilians, would just go back and forth until there was a treaty where they created the Draconian Empire, where the reptilians and the draconians became allies, and then over time the Wolfengangs became allies with them, and then the vampire races, etc., Greys, and then we'll go forward in time to our time. Then they started creating the first food source was actually the dinosaur races. That was their first genetically food source that they created. And then there was the Lemurian Wars that happened where they wiped out the draconian and reptilian food source, which was the dinosaurs. That's how the dinosaurs went extinct. And then there was a treaty between the Lemurian Wars and draconian reptilians where they created a new surface being called Homo sapiens, and to make us a new food source for the other alien races that need to use us. And then now we're back into modern time today.
Wow, that was great summary. So, What would you like to tell us, either of you, in the last 7 minutes? We have 7 minutes. Dan, what would you like to tell us? What do you want our listeners to know?
So this is anything. Okay, so as Shadi says, Trump is read in, which is interesting. So what's Trump going to do now? We'll see. I don't think he can do much, but anyway, Biden, or is it Biden? Biden and Kerry were the ones that were at the last summit when all the world leaders were pulled in November 2016. And there was supposed to have been a summit this year, but it didn't happen. So maybe they're going to do it next year. It's supposed to do the summit every 4 years where all the world's leaders in their secret space programs get together and sort of renegotiate with the Super Federation. Ishad is calling it the Galactic Federation. We've been calling it the Super Federation. So I guess that's the term the ICC likes, Galactic Federation. Anyway, so they're going to negotiate with those 62 species, and they were supposed to do that this year, but they didn't, because they want Biden and Kerry to do it again with them. I guess they were real successful in getting them to agree to a lot of stuff that they didn't really want to agree to anyway. So we may see another summit in Antarctica again next year or the following year. And then we want to follow all that stuff. Yeah.
They usually do a summit when they change administrations.
No.
So.
No, they don't care about that. Politicians don't have any position in the secret space program. Only long-term bureaucrats do. That's why the general has shed 30 years running that program. They're looking for long-term. They'll be bureaucrats. They won't be politicians. Biden and Kerry don't really have positions in the ICC. They just merely negotiate. They're negotiators.
Right.
For the ICC, yeah. And that was supposed to happen this November, but it didn't. So we'll see a lot of world leaders leaving all of a sudden for Antarctica the next time they have a summit. I'm thinking next year or the following year. We'll see.
Well, they had the summit in 2009 on Johnson Atoll. That's where I met the dragon, the underground base at Johnson Atoll, and then Michael Sala.
Well, I don't know about that summit, but I know about the one at 2016 real well. You know, okay. I don't know about prior to that. You know how often they were meeting, but that one was really telling. And of course, you know, the Vatican goes there, China goes there, and Russia goes there. All the representatives from each head of each secret space program for each country goes there. They're going to have another summit, but people are going to be following more closely now. As Shad is telling people, hey, all this stuff's real. Pay attention. So they're going to pay. There's going to be a lot more attention, a lot more public attention brought on the next Antarctic summit. Okay, come on. Let's hear from...
Okay. Hendricks, wrap it up. Got 4 minutes.
Oh, God. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, man. All I gotta say is, everyone can go online and self-teach themselves. The truth is literally on the internet. You can Google it. Yes, there's a lot of disinformation, but there's a lot of truth on there. Do your homework of what's happening with the TR-3B, the Secret Space Program, Space Force, Solar Warden. Back check your stories. Conference with so many people, like Admiral Byrd's story is amazing. Look on to Super Soldier Talk on YouTube. There's so much information on there. These people have never met each other, and they have so many similar stories. Just like when Dan was talking about the laser swords today, I was like, oh man, I remember those too. Like lightsabers are pretty cool, but we call them laser swords. And everyone can self-teach and self-educate, and you have to have an open mind. Like, we've been lied to for so long. We're so programmed not to believe the truth, and we have to, before you can understand the truth, you need to deprogram yourself and reteach yourself from the very beginning and learn and reteach yourself. Just get on there, stop being lazy, and start asking the right questions. And I hear whispers of people around where I live that were asleep 5 years ago, now they're awake and they're talking about this technology. They're talking about these astral projection dreams they're having, like all this stuff. And I'm a starseed. I'm saying there, the awakening is happening slowly. And with this new general coming out in Israel, it's the real truth. And I think actually the truth will come out faster in the Eastern world than it will become faster in the Western world. So the Western media is very dominated, very controlled, like our Facebook and YouTube accounts are being taken off daily. Edge of Wonder got deleted, and they were just all about truth. And Alex Jones got deleted. It's just, so I think the truth will come out in Russia, China, Israel, everyone like that first before it comes out in the United States.
Yeah, we have 2 more minutes. I got a download recently, and I've been researching this field, for 25, 30 years, and I've been an experiencer since I was born, so I'm turned 67, and basically I said, how do we determine what is truth? How do we, and it's like, go within, and if it's not kind, if it's not loving, it's fake news. So it's like, I kind of use that litmus now. I'm really tired of all the battles and wars and the million ways we can die, and you hear the secret space program, and it's like, death is not even an option. You get eaten by a spider, and they just put you back in the regen tank, and you're back, and it's like, that's kind of like what we do as souls. We just keep it going in and out of form, and so the bottom line is, if you're tired of this war, you just align with peace, and then peace will start happening, and so that's my New Year's Eve resolution. If it ain't kind of loving, I'm not going there. Okay, final minute to Sasha. Say something.
I think that you have to realize we're not powerless, that even though some other race may have greater technology and mental powers, when they interact with us, it's a relationship. We have power in that relationship, even if we're just their meat. They're dependent upon us, and we are collective, and we can stand up and be ourselves, and we don't have to live in fear. We can live in pride in who we are. That's what I think.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on the show today. Awesome show. Really appreciate both of you and all the hard work you do in the world. And I want to thank you, listeners, for coming on. And there is her final. Much love and blessings, and aloha to everybody. Have a great holiday.
Thank you for listening to Revolution.